Is tier 1 Jettas, Chase, and Cup?
Gotta add Tyreek in there.
I kind of put Jefferson in his own tier, and then those other 3 guys in a separate tier.
What's the best fantasy landing spot for Jonathan Taylor?
It's not the Colts. I think Miami would be ideal, right?
Stock up and stock down, leaving week 1 of training camp.
Darren Waller is like the guy. Stock down. J.K. Dobbins.
Oh. Welcome back to another episode of Caps Off by the Game Day. We've brought in our fantasy expert, another special guest. We got Faraz of Upperhand Fantasy.
What's up? What's up?
Welcome back in.
Fantasy God.
So happy to be back.
Yeah.
There's only one person on earth that rips more money.
I am, man. I like you guys.
Missed us a bit or what?
What's up?
You missed us?
Hell yeah, dude. I was hoping that I would get the text from you, Felipe, and I got it, and I looked at it, and I was like, all right, cool. I did not mess up the first time. That's what I'm happy about.
Hey, that's all that matters.
Your videos went off on TikTok. I don't know if you saw it, but they were like $500,000 each for like overvalued, undervalued. Where you want to
People
grab.
love the collab, so we had to run it back.
I did not see that.
Oh, they've gone crazy.
Yeah,
I got to
dude.
look at that after
They've
this.
gone
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show you.
But yeah,
people love mocks. People love fantasy, you know.
You love fantasy specifically.
I do love fantasy. I'm just not a mock guy, you know. End of the day, just not a mock guy. I'm a gut guy. When I go into the real draft, you just got to feel it.
See, but you can't do that because then when that clock starts going down, you're like 10 seconds of drafting, you're like panicking.
If
you're not ready to go, bro,
I
if you
panic
haven't done a
drafted
few
fucking
mocks.
Melvin Gordon last year or some shit like that. I panic draft someone
then you lose your
stupid every
league.
year,
Fuck
yeah.
that.
Hey, I almost won last year.
That's the last thing you can do. And maybe like the later rounds you could do that, but in
Yeah,
fantasy,
it was
these
a late
first
round
5
pick.
rounds, you need to know every single variable. You got to know where you're going with it and who to pick.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
Huh.
All right. Well, speaking of, we've gone a week into training camp. I'm kind of curious. Like, what are some of your biggest takeaways from week 1 of training camp, from a fantasy perspective?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think what I look for in training camp is, obviously there's going to be a lot of highlights and that sort of thing. Sure. Especially like non-padded practices. You're going to see like bombs and stuff like that. But what I like to look for is like the roles, right? Like, what are the roles looking like? Is somebody who is expected to be a big part of the offense? Are they a big part of the offense? Like, I'll give you an example. Like Dalton Kincaid, for example, on the Bills, right?
Guy.
As a rookie tight end coming into the league, you shouldn't be super optimistic because rookie tight ends rarely have a big impact. Right. They drafted him for a reason. They needed another wide receiver. And over the first week, it seems like there's no training wheels on right now. He is part of the offense through and through, the first team offense with Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is targeting him.
God, that gives me hype, bro. Football's bad.
You have him in Dynasty?
I do have him in Dynasty.
I do too.
I traded up for him, actually.
There you go. All right. So I did not know that, full disclosure. I didn't know you had him on your Dynasty team, so I'm glad
we both got it.
So, and then you see someone like Gabe Davis who's not being targeted as much over the first few practices, right? So, to me, that seems like, all right, I wasn't buying into like this first year Dalton Kincaid thing, but now looking at something like that, I'm like, all right, I can potentially buy in at the right price, because of the fact that they're going to probably use him as like a slot wide receiver.
Right.
I say he's basically the number 2 target there in Buffalo.
It's very possible that that's the case. Now, I was a little concerned because like maybe he'll like rotate with Dawson Knox a little bit, especially in the passing game. Yeah, sure. A big thing with tight ends is like, all right, what's the percentage of routes that you're running, the passes that you're running a route on, right? And like that's huge. Right. 75%, 80% is usually that threshold. Rookie tight ends rarely see anything close to that, especially when you have a guy like Dawson Knox who's already getting paid. He has a huge contract, right? But it seems like over the first few days, that is not going to be the case. It seems like Dalton Kincaid's going to be a big part.
God,
so are we talking tight end 1 finish for him? Top 10?
It's
12?
possible. I have him ranked like right outside my top 10. Like I have him like a top 12, actually like 14 or something like that. But, with the expectations that he has, his upper range of outcomes is like pretty high. It could be like tight end 7, tight end 8 on the season potentially.
See, that's why I love Dynasty, because like I drafted this dude obviously like long term, right? I mean, you pair him with Josh Allen, the prospect of that is awesome. And then you think about Dawson Knox, so you're not really hyped about this year per se. But then you start seeing training camp, and it's like, this dude could really do something this year. You're like, oh man, I'm really that good at being a GM. I don't know.
But if we're able to talk about like draft capital for running backs, we should hold that same value for tight ends. And I feel like how many tight ends in the last 5 years have actually been drafted in the first round? And you've taken flyers on them. Kyle Pitts, people drafted like crazy. Now it didn't pan out, but you should take those
still
shots.
Going to,
Yet.
Yeah, so
But what I'm
he
saying,
hasn't had one good quarterback.
I'm saying
yet,
in year 1, you are going to draft someone because of the variables that are surrounding these tight ends regardless. And Dalton Kincaid is the type of guy on an offense with Josh Allen, even though they have a Dawson Knox, who they went and got in the first round. So there's clearly a want to get him the ball, right? Like it's not just a need, it's a want.
Totally.
So when I look at Dalton Kincaid, or I look at the tight ends in general, if you don't get Travis Kelce in the first, I'm waiting personally, unless you want to target a Dallas Goedert or Pat Freiermuth like in the 7th round or something if they fall. But outside of that, this is a great year to take flyers on tight ends, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear that, and if you're not going to grab one of those elite tight ends like T.J. Hockenson, Mark Andrews, like I think the last time I came on this podcast, I wasn't too high on T.J. Hockenson, but as I've looked into it a little bit more, because my opinions changed so much from April to May to June to July to August, because I'm just looking at more stuff, and the more time you have, the more data you have, and the more I make sure my opinions change if the data changes, if everything I see changes. So T.J. Hockenson now, I'm all right, now I'm putting him into that tier. Mark Andrews, same thing, potentially much more pass heavy offense. But yeah, no, I agree. Pat Freiermuth is a name that I like in the 9th round. He's the guy that I think could potentially take a leap and really outscore his ADP. And then you got the Flyers later on, right? We talked about Conco last time, Greg Dulcich. Sean Payton loves him. He talks about him as his Joker player. So there's a few guys later on, and your boy, man, another training camp winner, Jake Ferguson. Okay, Jake Ferguson.
Shout
out.
Not
Schoonmaker.
Schoonmaker is hurt right now. Okay, and
plantar fasciitis, bro. We talked about this yesterday.
You're right. No, you're absolutely
football's bad.
In my opinion, I didn't think he was going to be a big factor anyway. I was on the Jake Ferguson train since Dalton Schultz left, and I just think that he's going to be the guy running a route on almost every single drop back with Dak Prescott. We know Dak loves his tight ends. So he's Jake Ferguson is not being drafted anywhere right now. He's only being drafted if you know about him, in the last round of best ball drafts, or even in your regular draft. If you punted tight end completely and you're just stacking running backs and wide receivers and upside guys, and then you're wait, I don't have a tight end. That happens sometimes, because you see the talent at running back and these sleepers. Jake Ferguson is probably the last round tight end you can get who can actually potentially finish as a tight end 1 this year.
It's funny. Yeah, that's a big claim too. But Dallas Cowboys play with Dak. Of course, you're going to potentially finish as tight end 1, But
you've always said Dalton Schultz was a product of Dak. So
that's what I was.
And I actually agree with that.
That's what I was about to get at. Is a lot of these times, the tight end production is just predicated off the quarterback. So even when you go back to Aaron Rodgers in his years with the Packers. So many tight ends had good years with the Packers, but they leave Green Bay and they never really have that kind of success. So I think it's the same thing with the Cowboys, where you have Dalton Schultz last year, pretty good. A lot of people thought he was actually that good. I doubt he's gonna. I don't know what you think about his outlook this year in Houston. It might be okay.
I thought he was a product of Dak and Kellen Moore. That's what I thought. So now with Kellen Moore going to LA, I think that Gerald Everett is somebody that I'm thinking about. Well, is he gonna make Gerald Everett run a route on almost every drop back now? They have a couple other tight ends who are athletic tight ends and stuff like that behind Everett. Will that be the case? So now we're just in Everett. Okay, is a pass first offense? Is that going to play out in LA as well?
There's too many mouths to feed in LA, in my opinion.
Man, it's true. But I think they're going to definitely lead the league in targets. One future bet that I'm doing is most passing yards for Justin Herbert. It's at plus 500 or something like that. So all right,
we were talking about training camp, and obviously one major thing happened, which is Joe Burrow's injury. So because of Joe Burrow's injury, are you slightly concerned or even remotely concerned about Jamar Chase and drafting him at his ADP right now?
No, I don't think so. This is a norm for Joe Burrow at this point. He always misses training camp. Yeah. Last year he had the appendectomy, right? I said that right.
Good word.
He had that, and he missed almost all of training camp. And I think his first, I think
he missed the entire training.
He missed the entire training camp, and then he came back super late in August. So it's what's the point? He's been in the system for 4 years now, right? He's played with Jamar Chase forever. Back to college, not a new weapon. And last year with Joe Burrow missing that entire training camp, as you said, Chase went on in week 1, 10 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown.
So no matter what you're drafting, Jamar Chase.
So Chase, I'm not moving him down at all. I'm confident in him. Yeah, it's okay, sure. You want to take. If you have him ranked number 2 to Justin Jefferson, you want to take Cooper Kupp over him because of this. Sure, they're all in. For me, they're in the same tier. So it's if you it makes you more comfortable. But then Kupp also has his small risks as well. So it's for me personally, it doesn't matter.
So is tier 1 Jettas, Chase, and Kupp?
I think so.
As far as receivers,
you got to add Tyreek in there too.
I think I would agree with you. I think I'm one of the few people who actually put Tyreek in there, and I'm glad you agree. I do put Tyreek in that tier. I think it's those top. I think I kind of put Jefferson in his own tier, tier 1A almost, and then those other 3 guys in a separate tier.
There's a part of me that just doesn't, like, I don't agree with that because I feel like Justin Jefferson, the biggest issue I have with Justin Jefferson, the biggest issue I have with fantasy in general is drafting someone at their ceiling. So Jettis is a guy that's 1-1, pretty consensus around the entire fantasy landscape is that he's the 1-1. The problem with drafting at the 1-1 is you can pretty much get very similar value, same production out of a Cooper Kupp, out of a Jamar Chase, out of a Tyreek Hill, and potentially even more just because without Adam Thielen there now, the coverages is going to be blanketing him a little bit more. So for me, I don't think Jettis is in his own tier.
Addison's going to be nice.
I don't think Jettis is like 1A and the rest are 1B. Like you can get, if it's Jettis, Jettis at 1-1 or Cooper Kupp, Tyreek, or Jamar Chase, like 2 through 6, I'm taking the 2 through 6.
I would say that's why I never want to draft first overall. This year,
I agree.
Hell no.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I would rather have like the 104 and or maybe even the 105 because like I'm actually okay with Christian McCaffrey falling to me too, right? So it's like those 5 guys, like I'm fine with any of those picks because, and obviously the closer you are to the middle of the round, like your next pick is coming sooner. Right?
I like having a better second round pick, an earlier second round pick.
Yeah,
trying to maybe get a Jettis who can end up being the same.
There's a lot of running back value in the second round this year, and you know obviously there's a lot of running back stuff going on right now.
Talk about it.
And like you know all these running backs, it's almost like you know what running back do you even feel comfortable with early, right? It's really hard.
The one that's paid.
I just tweeted out on our way over here. It was like you expect me to draft a running back and picks like 6 through 12, like in this economy? Like absolutely fucking not. There's no running back at all. Thanks, man. It was I liked it. It was a good joke. It was Biden's economy, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. Out of the top 4 wide receivers in fantasy, right? The tier 1 guys, Jettis, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase. Who has the best upside or the highest ceiling and the lowest floor? Like, what is the range of outcomes for those tier 1 wide receivers? And, you know, what, because you mentioned Jettis being the guy that, you know, is the 1A and in a tier of his own, but do you want to take him at the 1-1? We were just talking about it a little bit, or like who do you feel the best about in that tier 1?
Jettis?
Yeah, he is the one.
Given where they're being taken.
Yeah, no, he is. I get, you know, it's a fair point, but I think that like you know when you're drafting that high, like there's not that much breathing room regardless with any of these guys. But I do agree that any 4 of those wide receivers have the ability and almost like near equal ability to be the overall wide receiver 1 this year. So I'm with you. Like if I'm drafting the 104, I'm happy because like I got somebody like Tyreek Hill, for example, who can easily finish as the wide receiver 1 this year. He led the league in yards per route run. He had the so many big plays last year. Jalen Waddle like could regress this year a little bit based on his opportunity last year. Only 20% target share. You know, not as good. He overperformed on his opportunity last year because he's a pretty good player, obviously. But, you know, that could come down. But because of that, Tyreek Hill could potentially take even a further step. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, I like taking those guys a little bit later just because of the fact that, like you said, like you can get a better second-round pick potentially.
So who has the safest floor, though? Because I feel like you were indicating towards the fact that Jettis might have the highest ceiling, but if you're going to take that, you don't want to take a guy at his ceiling. And so maybe like the combination of ceiling and floor is like better.
I actually think the highest ceiling, if I'm even answering, I think the highest ceiling is still Cooper Kupp. Because Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase, at least over Jettis, is the higher ceiling.
If Stafford is fully healthy, he's just going to feed
that graphic that you posted, 92% of the time, Cooper Kupp has more than 20 fantasy points or something. Crazy. Like to me, that we forget who he is when healthy with that.
I actually think the highest ceiling among all these guys is Jamar Chase because Joe Burrow hasn't reached his potential yet. Yes. Right? Joe Burrow, he hasn't. Has Joe Burrow thrown for 40 touchdowns yet? I don't think so. So, you know, there's that upside. You know that Joe Burrow hasn't reached his potential. Once he does, and Jamar Chase is actually healthy for a full season because he wasn't last year, right? So he already got to like 80 catches last year, and he missed like 4 games, so or even more. So, you know, for me personally, Jamar Chase and that connection that they have, they're not even close to, I think, reaching what he's capable of. Now, I do think the floor conversation, I do think Justin Jefferson has the safest floor among all these guys. Extremely high target share. He is the guy, pass first offense. T. Higgins could take a little bit of away from Jamar Chase at times. But at the end of the day, like I think Jamar Chase has the highest ceiling. Tyreek Hill obviously as well, but he has a really good wide receiver behind him as well. But Jamar Chase, to me, man, like, you know, that connection that they have starting from his rookie year. Yeah, facts. You know, Justin Jefferson had a good rookie year too, but it wasn't anything close to Jamar Chase's rookie year, right? Jamar Chase had an even better rookie year than he did.
So that's like, it's crazy to think that Joe Burrow hasn't even had like an MVP type season yet. If he does, Jamar Chase
exactly
he's going off
100%.
So of those top 4, Of those elite top 4 wide receivers in fantasy, do you think Jamar Chase is the guy most likely to finish as the overall wide receiver 1?
No, I think they have a near equal chance to finish as a wide receiver 1 this year. I really do. Now, if Joe Burrow takes that big step forward, then yeah, I do think that he might have a little bit of an edge over all those guys. Because at the end of the day, out of all these guys we're talking about, Jamar Chase has the best quarterback.
Yep,
that's also true.
I think Tyreek's also another guy because with Tua missing time, when Tyreek was
because the sleeve,
the arm sleeve that Tua has.
Yeah, I don't know.
You have to think about that.
I'm just saying.
I have been paying attention to that narrative that you guys have been putting out there with the tribal tattoo. What do you think? And I agree. I fully agree. I think that now that Tua has that tattoo, he showed the world that he's willing to endure. And now
that's a lot of pain,
And now he cannot get concussions anymore. So
it's actually
that's how it works.
It's basically a force field.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So it's been 100%. So I think he's gonna go off this year because of that.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. So Tua QB1.
I got to throw that into my fantasy analysis, into my draft kit. So I think
maybe you're not analyzing tattoos, off-season tattoos.
Well, that's
Dak's leg sleeve.
Advanced analytics.
That's advanced analytics.
That's what we bring at the Caps Off Podcast is advanced analytics that no one else has.
People don't realize that shows me that you got confidence in yourself, right? If not only that, if you just put it on the arm, but you put it into the pectoral muscle, what we talked about yesterday.
And you know what else does? He's modest. He doesn't want to show it off. He didn't show it off all offseason, right? He was really hiding it. He's a very modest, humble guy. Good leader.
And then teasing it when he
guy you want, yeah.
I know we've been talking about wide receivers for a long time, but I'm curious. In that second round of wide receivers, I guess you could put Stephon Diggs in there, but he's going in the first. Of the second round wide receivers, who has the best outcome to finish as an overall wide receiver 1?
As the overall? That's a good question, man. I would say,
and I think Devontae has to be in that tier.
He is in that tier. So the guys that I'm thinking about right now is Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
You put Waddle and Chris Olave, I feel like, in there too, or no? Chris Olave.
I think they're in like the next tier.
Okay.
And I even put Waddle in the tier after that. I would say Olave has a higher chance of finishing top 5 on the season than Jalen Waddle does. I think Olave is just going to have an amazing year. Like his rookie year was underrated. He had one of the best rookie years of all time in terms of efficiency. So I do think in target share, air yard share, all of that was there. Like. He was up there with like Devonta Adams with a lot of these numbers. So I do think that I would put him in like that right there in that next tier. But with those 3 guys that I mentioned, Garrett Wilson, he has that ability right now because he had an amazing rookie year similar to Chris Olave, but he is Aaron Rodgers now, right? And and I don't know if you guys have seen like how they've been looking in camp. I mean, come on, dude. Like it's crazy. Their connection is real. We saw what he did with Devonta Adams. Obviously, he was able to do it with Derek Carr. But at the end of the day, when you match a really, really good quarterback with a very good wide receiver, second-year wide receiver, they can go off. Now, the reason why Garrett Wilson, I think, has a better chance than Amon-Ra St. Brown is because Amon-Ra is not really targeted downfield. That's the problem, right? Like, he could be a PPR monster, and I think he'll still finish as a wide receiver 1. And I have him ranked around, like, wide receiver 10-ish, 9-ish. But Garrett Wilson, especially in half PPR leagues, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson than Amon-Ra because of the fact that he's targeted more downfield. He's better out for the catch. He's a lot more dynamic, I would say, than Amon-Ra.
I see.
And I think Aaron Rodgers just 1 year removed from back-to-back MVPs. He's still that dude. Like, obviously a little worse last year, somewhat of a weird offense last year, and obviously there was a lot of stuff going on.
Well, Christian Watson was banged up for the whole first half of the year, right? Like, he wasn't there. And as soon as Christian Watson came back, his numbers were a lot better. And he didn't have Devonta Adams, and Romeo Doubs was banged up half of the year as well, right? So there was a lot going on. And his OC wasn't there. Nathaniel Hackett was in Denver, ruining that franchise. And now he's back. They're back together. And he was those 2 back-to-back MVP seasons was with Hackett. So he's back in his happy place right now. Like, he just looks like a happy dude. Like, that ayahuasca definitely changed his life.
He talks about that. A lot of people's lives.
Yeah, 100%. And
he's like a spokesperson for that shit now.
Dude, he looks really happy. Like, I'm a Jets fan, so I'm really paying attention. And I'm just like, this guy is just happy.
Rating just
so I'm surprised to hear that you absolutely. I'm surprised to hear that you absolutely hate CeeDee Lamb.
I don't. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Where'd you get that from?
That next tier.
Oh, you know what? That is my fault. He is in that tier. Well, actually, CeeDee Lamb is in the tier above them. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
CeeDee Lamb is like that 1-2 turn.
There you go.
Like, that's where I have him. I have him ranked like in that AJ Brown tier.
Got it.
I'm always like undecided, and whenever I'm like redoing my rankings, it's CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. I keep flipping them.
Yeah.
I have AJ Brown like one spot above CD right now, but like they're right there. He's not in that second round tier for me. He's higher.
to me.
That's why I want to be late in the first, because I want to try and I want to hope that like a Tyreek or Cooper Kupp potentially falls and then get a CD or an AJ.
It's not gonna happen, dude. That's not gonna happen.
I disagree.
You're not gonna be able to get Cooper Kupp. Like, who are people taking over Cooper Kupp? You think people are gonna choose running backs?
So take out Cooper Kupp out of the situation. Tyreek could easily fall to the 7th pick.
I don't.
7th pick, sure, maybe. Oh,
not saying to, like,
is that what you mean?
like,
Okay,
like 10 or 11.
I thought you meant like later.
I haven't even done a mock. I know he's not going double
at the
digits.
10th pick, if Stephon Diggs is there and then
Diggs can be there, I
four
think.
spots later, I get to pick a CeeDee Lamb or something, or even an AJ Brown. I'm all for it.
Then you win.
Yes. That's
The trophy is yours.
This is
that's what I'm implying here. Is that
And we talked about this last time too, right? Like when you get closer to the turn, you can potentially get those 2 elite wide receivers too. And if you
steal it,
I mean, and there are some running backs, like there are a lot of running backs throughout the draft where you can kind of like,
you
just
get
a little
Dameon Pierce late.
Yeah, you can
like
pick
that.
these guys, and you could potentially, get something working, because all you got to do is just pick that one running back that everyone's been sleeping on, that like, all right, boom, like you got yourself a high-end RB2 here out of nowhere when you picked him as like a top, outside the top 24, right? Those guys are there.
And you got like two bona fide wide receiver ones at that point. You're like, all right, we're good.
Exactly.
Just, I'd rather create that floor with my wide receivers. But we talked about running backs. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor news is going crazy. What's the best fantasy landing spot for Jonathan Taylor?
Oh man, it's not the Colts. I would say that because I'm a little bit concerned with. Well, first of all, that situation is not good, right? Like, I don't love having disgruntled running backs on my fantasy team. However, I would say like if he were to get moved, I think Miami would be ideal. Right? As a Jets fan, that pains me to say that because I wouldn't. First of all, why do you hate the Jets? The Jets didn't do anything to you.
Yes, they
did. Yeah, but they didn't do anything to you.
I never understand why you hate the Jets, because they don't do shit.
So I have a lot of friends that are from New York.
Okay.
And we've always, both of us, the Dolphins and the Jets, have been terrible. So it's this competition of who's going to be the first team to like actually be really, really good.
Well, the Jets already were that. The Jets made the AFC Championship like 10 years ago.
Yeah, the Dolphins won the division in 08, and I'll take my
Y'all never ever competed, though. The Jets were fucking good.
Right, but we've been asked for the last 10 years. They've been asked for the last 10 years. So who's going to be better?
Uniforms.
That's it.
Okay, now I understand. We've been better.
It's an irrational hatred.
No, it's
rooted in
it's actually
bias.
rational now because the Jets have been better. You're right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, the Jets have been better for sure.
Like I hate the Jets more than I hate the Patriots.
What?
Gotcha. It makes sense. I mean, as a Jets
you
fan,
guys own the Patriots, low key.
That's true.
As a Jets fan, I hate the Patriots way more. Obviously, like they've been.
That's number one.
Anyway, what were we talking? So back to Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor. So I think Miami would be a great landing spot. Obviously, Dalvin Cook. Any good running back who lands in Miami it would be awesome because like listen, Devon Achain, like he's super talented, but.
Yes, he is.
If Jonathan Taylor lands there, if Dalvin Cook lands there, they're going to be like the RB1 there in all situations. And, they would be top 12. I mean, Jonathan Taylor would probably be like a top 4 running back for me. Not only that is wherever Jonathan Taylor goes, maybe whatever coach is coaching him will give him some targets. You know what I mean? Like that's what he needs. And Anthony Richardson, the likelihood that happens there is a lot less
he's not
because
he's off.
He'd rather run the ball, right? Same thing at the goal line. I'm worried about that too. So I think Miami's good. I think the Bears low key.
You guys
are talking about that. So Bears low key, just because like there's a huge competition there, but there's nobody that's like just gonna stand out right in that backfield right now. I'm a fan of Roshan. I think Khalil Herbert's like a little. He's nice. Like people sleeping on him a little bit. He's good value, just because of how efficient he was last year. But Jonathan Taylor would just fit right into that RB1 spot.
So nice.
Imagine the running lanes that Jonathan Taylor would have with Justin Fields. You know what I mean? It's gonna be nuts.
So all I'm hearing is anywhere but Indianapolis is the best landing spot.
Yeah, I mean, with Justin Fields there, obviously you have similar concerns about like, dump offs and also because Jonathan Taylor isn't like that, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, where like you have to get him the ball in space like as a receiver, right? That's not super necessary. No coach has ever, prioritized that for him, right? So he's just like a dump off guy, I would say. I didn't think that he was the guy coming in like when he came into the league, but over the last few years, that kind of proved to be true.
Just from like a football perspective, I'm thinking right now of like all the concepts the Bears could run with Justin Fields, DJ Moore. And
from a
Taylor.
football perspective,
oh my god,
football perspective,
we want to see. I still want to see JT in Indy. Like fantasy wise, I get it, but like football perspective,
I'd way rather see Chicago. That would be.
Because you're fully talking from a fantasy perspective.
JT to Chicago would be sex. That would be so fucking nice.
Yesterday we were talking about football, and today we're talking about fantasy.
But the reason I don't want to see him in Indianapolis and the reason I'd rather see him in Chicago is because regardless of fantasy, I'd rather see him with Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson. I don't want to wait because Jonathan Taylor's in his prime right now, and Anthony Richardson's going to need a lot of time to develop. And I don't want to wait for that shit. So as a football fan, I want to see something more exciting, and Justin Fields is a guy that can take that next leap right now, and I want it to happen.
I would be worried about A-Rich if JT were to get moved, right? Because, like, they're going to depend on Jonathan Taylor. And exactly. And, like, you know, Anthony Richardson needs, you know, for his team to depend on the running back and not him, right, in year one, right? And I think JT would help him, you know, kind of get acclimated to the game a lot easier and all that. So that would be a little concerning.
Yeah, having that star running back helps set up the pass for Anthony Richardson, too, at the end of the day. Like,
the other part to the Jonathan Taylor situation, why I wouldn't want to see him in Indians, I think if he gets traded, he actually has an opportunity to help the running back market from a financial standpoint, going to a place where he can carry a load that shows how successful he can be with a better team. So, like, in Indianapolis,
what? He just had one of the best seasons we've seen from.
But if he goes off and Indianapolis isn't winning any games, then it's also still hurting the running back.
But they
market.
didn't win any games with him last year.
I agree with you. I'm saying if he goes to Chicago and he puts up 1,300, 1,400 rushing yards, and they end up having they overperform. You're like, holy fuck, we might actually have to pay the running back a lot more. Like, it helps.
So you're saying that you want a running back to be part of a success story for a team,
correct?
So that, you know, this will be a good look for running backs around the country.
I think that running back, the only way to begin the conversation of running backs getting paid is if a running back can show outside of Saquon Barkley, he is the difference maker in making a playoff run. Now,
Derrick Henry?
Yeah, but Derrick Henry.
Ezekiel Elliott many times?
But that's years ago,
proven, bro.
No, but it did not, because how far did the Cowboys go with Zeke?
That's what I'm saying. You think the Bears with Jonathan Taylor would win a Super Bowl?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Derrick Henry is the outlier in the situation. If there's more running backs that can take him. What do you mean? In the last couple of years, how far had running backs on teams gone?
I mean, Derrick Henry is the Titans the last
year.
He is
the Titans.
I think that's
Nick Chubb with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, there was the Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but still.
I think that's the point, right? The point is that, like, you know, we want these running backs to make a bigger impact than they are, right? Yeah. And it's like, is it going to happen, right? And I think we've already have like a huge sample size of it not happening, right? And it sucks for the running back market, right? It's just like an unfortunate thing, but it's like, you know, I'm just gonna say it, right? It's like when you replace a starting running back on a good team, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. You replace like look at Joe Mixon last year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You replace Joe Mixon with Samaje Perine. The Bengals didn't lose a beat.
Not at all.
You know, and like that's gonna happen, right? And you know, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, like the Giants, for example, they have. Okay, look, Giants fans are gonna get mad, but you know, in my opinion, like they don't. But they have something that they ended up paying because they didn't. Right. Now, Saquon is going to be a huge part of their success story if they 100%. Win. But I think that they're going to go as far as Daniel Jones takes them.
Of course.
Right? And not necessarily how far Saquon takes them. He'll be a big part, a huge production, but like it's really going to be on Daniel Jones' shoulders.
Like how often have you seen like a running back go off and actually win a team a game?
But that's
like it's not.
It's often. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
it's not the game right now.
But that's the hypothetical I'm playing. If the Giants last year were to go and make it to an NFC Championship, again purely hypothetical, you're going to point to Saquon Barkley as one of the major factors, if not the factor, as to why they got there. Jonathan Taylor's a guy from a talent perspective, from an age perspective, that can go elsewhere and potentially show that on a better team, and that's all I'm saying. Until running backs go elsewhere and prove their worth and can take a team to the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship.
Here's the thing: a lot of the
market's not going to change.
I disagree.
A lot of the things
one guy can't change that.
I would say a lot of teams we're talking about are already solid. Like Miami is already going to be good. If they had Jonathan Taylor, they're going to be a little bit better. Chicago this year is already probably going to win 7-8 games. They're going to be fine. If they get Jonathan Taylor, they might get to 9.
I kind of feel like having these like really, really good running backs is almost a luxury.
It is a luxury. 100%.
It's like the 49ers didn't need Christian McCaffrey.
No.
They got him. It was awesome. Like it's a nice little gadget. But you saw like Elijah Mitchell going off there, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, all these dudes. Like I just don't think it's necessary to have a star like that.
It's not. And one person's not going to change the market, but we need one person to be able to begin to shift the market. And
bro, if anyone did that, it was Derrick Henry. If anyone could have done it, it was Derrick Henry, and he didn't do it.
He's one person. Can we get another person to do
it? Bro, you're saying we need one person to do it. What are you saying?
I'm saying Derrick Henry is the current outlier. I'm saying Derrick Henry's the current outlier. Can we get another person?
So then Jonathan Taylor would be the second outlier.
Yeah, like
that way,
we
bro.
need it to happen more often. How do we get to happen? How do we get it to happen more?
I don't fucking know.
Jonathan Taylor gets moved to a better team. That's my point.
Adam, what you need to recognize is that the reason it doesn't happen often is because the game's just not built that way. So if there's an outlier, it doesn't mean the league's going to shift because of 2 outliers or 3 outliers.
All
I'm
know
not saying
Felipe
it's going to
Fontes.
shift. I'm saying we need something to happen, a drastic change to happen to try and have it shift.
And it's like, will a team pay what it takes to like get someone like Jonathan Taylor, like in terms of draft capital, right? Like a team is going to have to like give up like something legit, like maybe a 3rd rounder. Like, would you think a 3rd rounder would get it done for a running back like Jonathan Taylor? Like that would be, I think it would be decent. I think the Colts would entertain that, especially if they think that it's over, like the relationship's over between them and JT. I don't know if they're there yet. You know, but Irsay is like a little
he's a little fucked
like
in the head.
He's a little out there right now. You know,
I think something. He's a little psychiatric. Right now.
I think so.
I don't know. The
tweets
this last year have been out of pocket.
The relationship kind of feels beyond.
It does at this point. At this point, it does, because now JT is talking about like, what are you talking about? I don't have a back injury. Like I don't know what you guys are talking about. So yeah, no, I agree. The relationship has soured. We'll see what ends up happening. But as of right now, from a fantasy perspective, like I wasn't in on JT at his price, and you know I'm willing to take him if he falls like heavy, but you know I'm not going out of my way to grab him in fantasy drafts right now.
What's his price right now?
So he was going in the 1st round early on in the offseason, and now he's more like a maybe a mid-second round pick.
I don't mind mid-second though, but I guess if you don't really know what team he's going to be on, that's a problem.
Yeah, I guess, you know, but I think he's going to get the volume regardless of where he's at, you know, like there's no, I don't know what team in the league is going to like grab JT, who's willing to pay for him and then not deploy him as like
if you're willing to pay for him, you're going to really use him.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like I was looking at his numbers, big cap guy. He's the 28th highest paid running back this year.
He's on a rookie deal.
Yeah,
he's on a rookie deal. And I'm saying he's got still one. You know, he's $4 million this year. You could pay him. You're going to end up tagging him next year anyways. You could lower that cap number and give him a 2-year deal.
Of course,
not that bad. I don't know.
Thank you for the cap.
Yep.
Give him a. All right, we gotta get off this topic. Bro.
You did mention Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
We talked about Jets, Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, it's between those two.
Right.
So if Dalvin Cook had to go to the Jets or the Dolphins, what's the better landing spot?
Oh,
from
Dolphins.
A fantasy perspective?
Dolphins, no doubt, because you know the Jets have Breece Hall already, right? You know they're going to share that load. I do think Dalvin Cook will be the 1A in that situation, especially early on, right? Dalvin Cook's not even. He's going to be back in a few weeks in training camp. So you know it's kind of interesting to me that Javonte Williams, you know, had the worst injury and like he's back in camp, but he's limited though. He's not like a full participant or anything. But Breece Hall, you know, they're taking it slow with him right now, and as they should. I think you know bringing in Dalvin Cook would be huge. Just from a football perspective, because you don't have to put everything on him, right? And you know, if that ends up happening, you know, maybe like someone like Michael Carter can be on the move, right? They have running backs behind them. It's like, what's the point of having someone like Michael Carter behind them? You know, but
even Zonovan Knight, decent,
he led the league in forced missed tackles last year. On a percentage basis. I don't know. That's just a random thought I had in my head.
That's a random Jets fan stat right there.
We have been talking about advanced analytics with the sleeves and everything, so that makes sense.
Oh, do you have the sleeve? Do you have the sleeves?
I threw them out this morning.
Why would you throw them out?
Because I got 19 more at home.
You brought in some fake sleeves yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we all wore
I like it.
They were real. I forgot. Sorry.
Does Dalvin Cook going to the Jets? Do you bump Breece Hall down? You know, a couple.
Yeah, you do have to, and I'll bump Dalvin Cook up because I think the offense is going to be good. Yeah. You know, we know that Aaron Rodgers likes to use running backs in the receiving game too. Dalvin Cook has always been somebody who's been using the receiving game. His efficiency has gone down a little bit, but at the end of the day, man, we see a lot of times with these like running backs a little later in their careers. Having like a little bit of a resurgence, like maybe for a year or maybe two, with a better team, right? It happens sometimes. I think he can end up doing that. I would rank him as like a low end RB1, Dalvin Cook, if he were to go to the Jets, and maybe move Breece Hall down a little bit to like a low end RB2 or something like that.
Ooh,
yeah,
interesting.
What about Miami? What would you?
Dalvin Cook would be like with the running back landscape the way it is and how shaky it is, like RB8, RB9.
Adam likes that.
He'll be up there.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. We love Dalvin.
It's a great offense, and he will be the guy.
The biggest thing I love, and we've joked about Devon Achain, is it's Devon, right?
I don't know.
I think it's
your running back.
Yeah,
Devin just is how my brain works.
It's definitely not Devin, I don't think.
Okay, whatever. Devon Achain is the type of guy that where he's going like the 11th round, 10th round right now. Like someone on that Dolphin offense, the same way Jeff Wilson came in and was pretty damn productive. Like I'm taking any flyer on that Dolphins team. It's not because I'm a Dolphins fan.
I'm 100% with you. I'm in on Devon Achain at his price right now, but like, Dalvin Cook would obviously hurt that. But at the end of the day, like you're not like losing that much. I think Achain will still get his touches, but at the end of the day, like Dalvin Cook is going to be the guy. However, if he doesn't go there, I think Achain could get 15 touches in that offense. Apparently, they're really deploying him in the receiving game as well. So if he's getting like, let's say he gets like 4 or 5 catches a game and like 10 carries, that is enough to be a high in RB2 on a good offense. He's not going to get goal line carries. Most likely Jeff Wilson. He's a bigger back there. But it kind of doesn't matter. As long as he's getting those receptions, he's going to be pretty good.
Yo, what the fuck is so funny?
I just love talking about 11th round running back.
First off, he's going to be the greatest running back in NFL history. I can already see it.
Behind Deuce Vaughn.
Behind Deuce Vaughn. Achain is that fucking good. Second, we were laughing because whenever you talk about the Dolphins, you're always like, this isn't because I'm biased or anything, but like I truly believe this. Like, how are you gonna believe it? That's not because you're biased, bro.
Like, you are biased. Just own it. It's fine.
Just say what you're gonna say.
I'm biased as fuck too. Like,
yeah, but I have the same way you knew Zonovan Knight most forced missed tackles because you're biased and know the Jets.
No, he's just a fantasy guy.
But I know the Dolphins offense. I know who's gonna.
Devon Achain hasn't played one NFL snap. We don't know shit.
He's gonna be the
Deuce Vaughn, but that dude, he's bringing him up yesterday as if he's the greatest.
Well, Deuce Vaughn's a little hamster. He's a little muscle.
Deuce is nice, bro. Deuce is nice.
Short Kings draft.
Dude, I've seen those like videos that were put together with so messed up, dude. Like the circus theme music.
Bro, it's so mean.
Come on, dude.
Could you imagine?
I'm like, that's the best running back in Kansas State history. First of all,
imagine you had Bryce Young, Deuce Vaughn backfield.
Oh, that'd be electric.
A what?
Bryce Young hands it off to Deuce Vaughn.
Oh god, yeah, that'd be lit. One of the videos on the compilation, that carousel or whatever, was like that video of the little small guy on like the motorcycle and he just like flies off.
Oh yeah.
So funny.
It's terrible.
So like wrapping up this training camp talk, in terms of just a quick hitter, stock up and stock down, leaving week 1 of training camp. Who are some of those guys that stock's rising, stock's falling?
Darren Waller is like the guy on the Giants right now. So you got to move him up for sure. Daniel Jones has only been targeting him apparently in camp. He's a mismatch. The videos that you've been seeing, it's like this dude is a man among boys right now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. As long as he stays healthy, he could finish top 4, even higher potentially as a tight end this year.
I mean, if he's the only option there in New York, he could finish high.
They have like 14 slot receivers, and they're going to play 12 personnel. So like, I don't know what they're going to do there.
Yeah, but they added the greatest slot receiver of all time, Cole Beasley.
People forget.
Okay.
So he's going to change the game.
Hey, he was nice with Brian Dable, back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Darren Waller, could potentially, go crazy this year.
Too, yeah.
James Cook, he apparently has been the unquestioned RB1 throughout Bills camp so far. He's going to be, his offensive coordinator called him a 3-down back. His GM called him a 3-down back. And I agree with that. Now, there's a difference between 3-down and every down, right? I think we talked about this before. Every down meaning like you don't leave the field. I don't think James Cook is built like that. He's a smaller running back. However, I do think that he could play a role in all 3 downs, right? Be the primary passing down guy, but also get like 10 to 15 carries potentially too, maybe 12 carries a game, in addition to all of the targets. Now, one interesting thing about James Cook is that Devin Singletary ran like the 6th or 7th most routes last year, and he was targeted at one of the least rates in the NFL. Now, then the question becomes, all right, well, does Josh Allen just not check it down? Does he not like targeting running backs? In my opinion, it always comes down to your personnel. You give the ball to who's going to make it happen. And I don't think Devin Singletary was that guy. James Cook was only behind Austin Eckler in targets per route run last year.
Damn.
Okay. So if he's going to assume the 6th or 7th most routes run among running backs this year,
he's going to be targeted.
Then he's going to be targeted a whole lot. You kind of extrapolate that out.
Wasn't he also super efficient towards the back half of the year? Like he was one up there in like the top, I think it was like top 12 or something.
Yards per route run, very efficient in the receiving game. He was one of the most explosive running backs in terms of like 10 plus yard percentage, 15 plus yard percentage. Coming out of college, he had one of the highest yards per route run. He was right there up there with Rachaad White. And he had the highest yards per touch as well coming out of that draft class. So he's somebody who can be super efficient. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He got the draft capital. They only have, Damian Harris seems like the clear RB2 behind him at this point. But he's not involved in the passing game at all. So, I think it's going to be James Cook's show. He's being drafted like the 9th round right now. He is like a priority target for me.
Yep. Jeez. You can even, I wouldn't even mind reaching A round early.
Like first,
Me too.
Like
100%.
Like round one.
Players on a good offense.
He is going to
second overall.
He's going to move up. He's going to move up. So like if you're drafting right now, you can get away with 8th, 9th round. I have a feeling that he's going to move up to like the 6th, 7th round.
So I should make my league mates draft right now, tomorrow.
In my opinion, like if you know what's going on, it's way better to draft early.
Yeah.
I'm always scared of it though, because like injuries, everything.
The problem is, but not that. It's like. I know I can't convince them either because like they know that I'm in it, so they're like, hell no, dude. Like we're gonna wait until the very last minute. And we're gonna draft.
I had people text me like, I can't wait to steal all your picks because listening to episodes.
But you know what? There's not like the injuries suck, like the season long, like what happens in training camp, preseason. But like there's not that many of them, you know. Yeah. And sometimes
I guess I'm more thinking like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards last year. It's like Jesus,
that fucked so much.
Yeah, that sucked, right? Obviously, but like I don't know. It doesn't happen so often. Like you might get fucked like here and there, but. I think you're going to get a huge edge though if you know what you're talking about early, So that's kind of how I like to do it. I talked about Jake Ferguson already, Brandon Cooks too. Like he looks like the clear wide receiver 2 there. Yeah. There's a real connection between him and Dak. Calvin Ridley.
I was going to say. Calvin
Ridley. Crazy, Doug Peterson like himself said that he was asked like who were your standouts. He mentioned somebody on defense I don't care about, and then he mentioned. Calvin Ridley as a standout on offense. And like, dude, like you already have Christian Kirk. Good. You already have a good tight end. You already have, Evan Ingram. You already have, Zay Jones. And like, so if you're going to call out Calvin Ridley, that's what we want to hear. He looks different though. You guys saw the videos.
Yeah, he looks true. He looks like slightly big.
Yeah. And like Zay Jones, like, they're both running the same route.
Yeah, that video was crazy.
We watched it on the podcast yesterday, bro. We went stupid with that.
Oh my God.
It was, it looked like you fast forwarded like 10X, right? So, he's going to be that guy. It seems like, he was an alpha receiver as soon as he came into the league. He challenged Julio for targets, when Julio was actually good. And now you're in a situation where, he could potentially get to 26%, 27% target share because he is that alpha receiver. And that would
Trevor
obviously
Lawrence
bump down
makes
Christian.
Step too.
And on top, there's so many reasons to like Calvin Ridley.
So many things, reasons.
If Trevor Lawrence takes that step forward, like you said, it's going to be bananas. And Doug Peterson's a great play caller too.
You're drafting really in the 3rd?
Because
I feel like he was at the 4th, 5th, and now it's his
I think 3rd is like, man, it's tough, man. I think late 3rd is like the earliest I would probably go on him. But at the end of the day, man, if you draft him in the 3rd and he is who we think he's going to be, like even the middle of the 3rd round is still a good price for him.
Yeah. Yep. All right, stock down. Who are some guys that stocks lose?
Kadarius Toney's the biggest one. Obviously, like he got hurt already. Like this dude, I hate to label players as injury prone because I think the label gets thrown around way too much where it's like, when injuries are indicative of future injuries, that's when I'm like, okay, cool. But like, you really got to get into the details. With Kadarius Toney, man, the dude just can't stay healthy, right? He was like, there was a lot of hype around him being like the Chiefs wide receiver 1, this and that. But now it just seems like, he's going to be out for the rest of the offseason. Maybe he'll be back for week 1. We'll see. But I'm just like taking him off my draft board at this point.
I'd rather be wrong on Kadarius Toney and have him pop off for someone else than draft him and be upset.
I agree, 100%. And you have other receivers there that you could potentially,
Rice?
Rashee Rice. I think Sky Moore. So as of right now through camp, Sky Moore is also a little bit of a riser just because of the fact that he was able to take a little bit of that opportunity from Kadarius Toney. But also, they were already going to give him opportunity regardless, right? Yeah. Right now, he out of all those other guys, like MVS is going to be on the field, but he's not fantasy. He's not a fantasy guy. You're not going to draft him and expect much. Justin Watson, same thing with him. You're not going to expect much there. But I think it makes the most sense for Toney to slide into that slot role that Juju has vacated, and he's going to be the guy on the field and have the most production with Patrick Mahomes. So I do like. And his ADP is rising right now, like 8th roundish.
Sky Moore?
Yeah, Sky Moore is right. Yeah, he's like the most expensive Chiefs wide receiver right now. But I think I'm not a big Rashee Rice guy, but from what I've seen in camp, from what I've seen in camp, and from how I'm seeing him get involved, I think it makes sense to take shots.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was drafting for my dynasty team, my dynasty league, like a couple months ago, I saw your take on Rashee Rice, and I avoided it because of you. So if he becomes great, dude, I'm gonna come back after you.
I think I listen, man. You're not the only one. Trust me, because like I put out a lot of like video. I met Rashee Rice at the Senior Bowl, and he was a really cool dude. But like, I just wish I saw more, man.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people said that too. Yeah. You weren't the only one.
But I agree. Like I'm willing to take the heat. Like if he becomes like a really good wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes, like I'm willing to take the heat on that because
the measurables are there, man.
Yeah, for sure. And he looks good like in camp right now.
I'll tell you what about Sky Moore though. I just can't. For some reason, numbers play such a big. Like
24
big for me. 24 as a receiver.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Disgusting.
I don't want stock in the number 24.
As a receiver.
Either be
a running back, that's fine.
It was
below 20 or in the 80s.
It was a terrible decision. It was a terrible decision to take 24.
I'd like to see a single-digit receiver. Those are fun.
Yeah, no, those are fun. Calvin Ridley, 0.
I don't know how I feel about 0 for
I like 0.
I like 0.
I don't know, but I like Calvin Ridley.
You got one more. Fowler.
I'm gonna stock down. Like I think J.K. Dobbins is a guy whose stock is down. However, buy the stock. You know
Buy the stock.
Buy the dip.
Like, listen, man. Like, his stock is down. Like, I tweeted this out the other day. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be this year's Josh Jacobs.
Oh, Felipe!
I really do.
Wow, hold on. The turn of events that just happened. Felipe,
I'm going
30 seconds ago.
It's a roller coaster, baby. No, I
can't tell if Felipe's got
do you
JK in Dynasty.
Do you guys remember? Actually, it was the same week last year. Josh Jacobs played in the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, right? And for a starting running back to play in the Hall of Fame game, it's like, what are you doing?
Dude,
which basically meant, including myself, my take from that was like, they don't care about him at all. This is going to be a timeshare. They're going to compete. It was like, it was the opposite, right? Yeah. What ended up happening, Josh Jacobs was the guy. And I do think that there's a lot of negative narratives around J.K. Dobbins right now. And I think that's going to completely flip. Once he's on the field, I don't see a situation where he fails. This year, and I don't think he has any.
I agree with.
I don't think he has.
Offense is too good.
I don't think he has any leverage right now. Like, he has like one rookie year where he hardly got any work. He was efficient, but then the next year he got hurt. Right, so it's like he has no leverage at all right now. And on top of that, I think that the Ravens are an organization like that doesn't mess around. Look what they did with Lamar. Yeah. They dragged that whole situation out until they couldn't stretch it out anymore. Yeah. Right, and with J.K. Dobbins, they put him on the pup, even though he's not hurt. He's not hurt right now, guys. Like, the reason why they put him on the pup right now is because it's contract related. If they go into the season with him on the pup, that means that if he stays on the pup, he doesn't get an accrued season. So he's going to stay in the same situation next offseason.
Yeah. I don't get this shit, man. I get the Saquons and stuff because you've done a lot and you want to get your contract. Sure. But like, J.K. Dobbins has barely done anything and he's upset with his contract. Bro, you're on a rookie contract. You've barely played.
Agreed. He has no leverage. I'm not really sure what he's trying to do right now, honestly. Yeah. But when he's on the field...
I was going to say, his agent is?
Stock is down, but buy the dip.
Buy the dip.
Man, already bought. That shit's bought.
As we begin wrapping up, though, we were talking about this yesterday, and we have this mock, obviously, tomorrow that we're doing. So make sure to... Actually, when this episode comes out, we have a mock tonight. So go on Twitter and sign up. Felipe and I are going to draft Cowboys and Dolphins players in the first round. But in fantasy this year, what's the most ideal 3-round start for you? What is the most ideal Upperhand fantasy 3-round start? Is that...
3-round? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is what I did. You guys gave me this question before. So here's what I did to make it a little bit easier. So I chose players based on early first round, middle first round, and the first round. And it kind of went it that way. Okay?
I like
All right. So if you're drafting the early first, we talked about this. Jefferson, Chase, Kupp, CMC, or Tyreek Hill. Okay? Middle of the first round, Travis Kelce or Tyreek. Okay, because Tyreek sometimes fall. If available, if those guys aren't available, maybe go Stephon Diggs there. Ooh. Late first, CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown. Early second, Nick Chubb. Mid second, Amon-Ra or Garrett Wilson. Late second, Tony Pollard or Ramondre Stevenson. You got to draft them if you're in the late second round. Early third round, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Olave, if Ramondre ends up falling, but Chris Olave, great early third round pick. Middle of the third round, I'm grabbing Jahmyr Gibbs whenever I can in the third round. It's going to happen, okay? Late third round, Keenan Allen, or like I said, just reach on Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley probably has a little bit of a higher upside. Yeah, so sure. Those are the 3 guys. So if I had to pick 3 players out of all those guys, first round, Justin Jefferson, second round, Tony Pollard, third round, Jahmyr Gibbs. Ooh. Those are my ideal. If I leave the first round with those 3 guys, man, I'm happy.
That's lit.
If I leave the first 3 rounds,
I like how you say I'm drafting Jahmyr Gibbs third round, doesn't matter where.
I just want a lot of my drafting decisions are based around Jahmyr Gibbs in the third round.
Really? Yeah. You think he's going to be that insanely better than his ADP?
I think so. He's being drafted RB 13, 14. I think he could be the RB 8, 9 potentially. I just think that they're
first round draft capital.
Dude, they already had the roles set up for him.
Yeah,
exactly. They were like, hey, DeAndre Swift, we love you. We love your role, but we got to get you out of here. We're going to draft this other guy. Take your role, and he's going to be better.
Yeah. Well, it's what they wanted DeAndre Swift to be. He just couldn't stay healthy.
100%.
People were shitting on that draft pick, but if he pans out, it's not going to fucking matter, at all.
I'm still going to shit on the draft pick regardless, but at the end of the day, he's going to go off. And running backs, every single running back who was picked top 12 in like the last like 10 years or whatever it was, they all became RB1s in their first year.
That's a great one. I've seen that before. Wait. That.
Backtrack. Say it again. What's this crazy fantasy stat?
Excuse me. I have to clear my throat for that one. Every running back who's been drafted in the top 12 over the last 10 years has gone on to be an RB1 for fantasy in their rookie year.
See, that's that right there. You got to buy that stock because, like, that's just history.
Yeah, inside analysis.
It's the same as a sleeve. Like, you see the sleeve, you believe in it, right?
Yeah.
Advanced analytics, right?
Especially a leg sleeve with the Dallas skyline.
See, we're literally not gonna edit that clip so that we can have that information.
Yeah, don't.
I get DMs all the time, like people bribing me, like, "Hey, what's your Venmo? I'm gonna send you some money so that you can block my brother." Or like, because I don't want my brother to see this shit, or I don't want my friend to see this stuff.
That's fucking
like, hey, like I love your stuff, but I can't share it. Hell no. Like, listen, man. Like,
all you gotta do is block a guy. That's all you gotta do.
Hey, listen, man. For the right price, you know what I'm saying?
It's your kid's birthday or some shit.
But we should block all of our league mates.
Yeah, we should,
for sure.
100%. But you mentioned Travis Kelce in that middle second.
Yeah. No, listen, man. No, middle of first.
No, I'm saying middle. When I said middle second, the second tier in the middle.
I see. I got you.
Yep. I missed.
Rephrase. You got this.
I got you.
No, I was just saying. You mentioned Travis Kelce.
Are you hesitant?
I've always been hesitant on drafting a tight end, even though Kelce's Kelce, and you have a huge advantage with a tight end. There's just the elite of the elite in those wide receivers in that first round. I just can't get myself to draft Travis Kelce. Would you, even though you put him in that second tier, would you draft Travis Kelce?
Yeah, I would. And the reason for that is just like you said, it literally comes down to positional advantage. Like if you look at the teams, like, and there's been like studies on this, like if you look at the teams who had Travis Kelce like last year, like they're in the championship. Or like, a big percentage of them made the playoffs, big percentage of them made the finals, big percentage of them won, so it's like,
that man is different.
It's like the positional advantage is real. And that's what you want to try to do at every pick that you're trying to do, regardless if it's tight end or not, right? Like if you know that this running back and the next running back, there's a huge gap between those two guys, but there's like 4 wide receivers in a similar tier, you want to go for that running back to give you that positional advantage over the next guy. That's just how you want to draft. But the size of the positional advantage that Travis Kelce provides right now is huge. Now, I think that people are overreacting from last year a little bit also because how big of a gap there was. There's not going to be that big of a gap every single year. Yeah. He's also going into his age 34 season.
That's the question.
I'm scared to spend first round capital
a little bit. Yeah, it could be a little risky. Now, tight ends don't fall off as early as wide receivers do. Yeah. And we've seen like good tight ends a little bit earlier, fall off a little bit later than most. But Travis Kelce, like we didn't really see much of that last year. And they don't have any other wide receivers to like take away targets from him at this point.
Even if he's not as good as he was last year, he's still going to be awesome. Like they need.
That's kind of how I look at it too. Yeah.
All right, Adam, I don't know if you're going to get into this. I had to ask the question though for my own purposes, right? Even though it might have been on the list, I don't know if you're. I
don't think Deuce Vaughn's going to be that fantasy relevant this year.
He's a short just team, predicted. He's a short.
All right, and with that, thanks for watching Cavs on. Seattle's backfield, man. I was looking at your post, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw the Kenneth Walker, my eyes lit up because I got Charbonnet.
Yeah.
I slid to the next slide. Charbonnet's hurt too. I'm like, the fuck is going on?
I know. It's weird, man. Like, so we don't know how severe these injuries are, right? Like, we didn't, Charbonnet had somebody looking at it, and then like we didn't hear anything since, right? So it might not be too severe. Like the hope is that they just let Kenneth Walker rest. It's a groin, soft tissue that gets tricky, especially if you try to rush those guys back. So hopefully they don't do that with him. In your case, maybe hopefully I don't want to root for injuries or anything like that. But both of those guys are banged up right now. They're not bringing anybody in at this point, or not yet. Maybe they will. Right. A lot of people are like, oh, that's where Jonathan Taylor's going to go, or like that's where Dalvin Cook is going to go. But I don't think that's going to happen. It doesn't seem too severe at this point. Charbonnet going to like a, having someone look at it, and the words like out indefinitely was put out there. But I watched. That's
scary to me, like those.
Terms, I think that was a media term because I watched Pete Carroll talk about it, and he didn't say that word.
Okay.
So he just said that he's going to be out for a little bit, and then the reporters were asking him like, "Oh, is Kenneth Walker's injury week to week?" He's like, "Yeah, you know how Pete Carroll is, right?" He's like, he's super optimistic. He's like, "We'll see," So I'm not like going crazy trying to like fade these guys or anything like that. And I'm also not taking too much out of it. I just think that it sucks right now that they're both not in camp.
Sucks for you, man. Charbonnet.
You know who's rising? Who? New school's finest? Kenny McIntosh.
Yeah, good.
Kenny, man, like he was drafted so late, dude. I didn't really understand it.
You got kind of
To the moon.
I think
Fawn, Kenny McIntosh, RB1 and RB2.
I love McIntosh, dude. I think he's not even rostered in a lot of dynasty leagues just because he was drafted so late. You got to pick him up, regardless of the situation.
Word?
I think
Is
so.
he not?
Damn.
Hey, bro, you scoop. We produce.
He was drafted so late that a lot of guys don't even.
I think he might be a free agent in my league. Yeah.
Hey man,
We produce
he's
athletes.
a good player.
All right. Well, this was fun.
So
We gotta do this
fun.
again in the season. Before we sign off, Faraz, one fantasy hot take to end this episode.
J.K. Dobbins, top 5 running back for fantasy this year.
All right. And, with
And
that,
if it could be tabs, he had Tony Pollard, potentially RB1. So now I got two top 5 running backs on my squad. So.
And you got Justin Fields, bro.
And with that, thanks for watching or listening another episode of Caps Off. We had Faraz at Upperhand Fantasy. You're on Twitter now, too?
Kind of, yeah. You know, you can find me on Twitter, but I think Instagram's the main spot. You know, that and the podcast, the Upperhand Fantasy podcast as well.
Got to get you more on TikTok, too.
Yeah, I gotta get. I gotta get.
That's
out
your
there.
sweet spot right
Yeah,
there.
I feel like I gotta get. I gotta.
Your
I gotta do that.
videos are perfectly made for TikTok.
Are they really? You think so? We gotta talk
100%.
about that more.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll talk some strategy. But thanks for watching. Remember, tune in to Friday's episode. I think we're going to do some drafts. Some people want to hear.
Been a while.
It's been a while since we've done some
For
drafts.
Kings draft.
Yep.
Let's bring on. Yeah.
Yep.
do
We'll
it.
bring on
It's
later.
draft season, baby.
It is draft season. That is true. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Friday.
See ya.
See ya.
Let us know what you thought of Faraz's fantasy advice, or if you have any sleepers that you're targeting in your drafts this year. Remember to like, subscribe, follow us on all social platforms.